All right. Hey, everybody. Super excited for this panel. We're going to get started at about 6:02, so just hang in tight for a couple of minutes, and then we will get started and we will talk all about the amazing work that MSF has done this year with some of our incredible officers. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our last and final panel of this year. I hope you guys are excited. We're going to be speaking with some of our incredible officers on the MSF exec board. If you guys have any questions, please be sure to type them in the chat of the YouTube live stream. And with that, we're going to get started, and I'm going to pass this off to Ashley.
Thank you for that warm welcome. So let's begin with having the panelists introduce themselves. Please say your position in UGA MSF, your year, and your major. So let's start with Simran.
Well, my name is Simran. I am a senior and I'm majoring in anthropology and minoring in global health.
And then we could have Abigail, please.
Hey guys, I'm Abigail. I'm the current vice president. I am a junior and I'm majoring in genetics.
And then Justin.
Hey everyone, my name is Justin. I'm the current social secretary of the organization, and I'm a fourth year majoring in biology with a minor in public health.
And then Webb.
Hey everybody, I'm Webb. I am one of the publicity and campaigns officers here. I am in my fifth year right now. I'm majoring in biology.
And then finally, Susie.
Hi guys, my name is Susie. I am one of your event secretaries and I am a fourth year majoring in biology with minors in French and biomedical physiology.
Okay, perfect. Now that we have everyone introduced, let's start with the questions. So Simran, as our CEO and president, what was the biggest inspiration behind forming UGA MSF?
I think I started UGA MSF first for definitely some personal reasons. I felt like I couldn't find an organization on campus that gave the opportunities that UGA MSF does today, or the kind of growth or environment that I feel like pre-health students really need to prepare themselves for a long journey of studying and of perseverance. And so I figured, if I can't find an organization that makes me feel a certain way or gives me the opportunities I feel like I need, why not start an organization? And the mission behind Doctors Without Borders really aligned with my own interests, is kind of going outside of the box, going outside of America, and making sure that we're able to provide any sort of help, whether it's healthcare or food or shelter, to communities that need it most. And Athens is one of those communities, even within the United States, that needs all of those resources a lot. And so it felt like a great fit. And so gratefully, I had an amazing executive board first year, and some of those people are here today. And then I had just as an amazing executive board the second year. And so together we were able to create Doctors Without Borders and grow it.
All right, thank you, Simran. That sort of going off of that, what was the biggest struggle in deciding how the organization would run?
We didn't know how it was going to look. I feel like everybody was able to pitch something as to what they wanted it to look like, and we were able to delegate, know our responsibilities, and respect each other's opinions well enough where we were able to create a chemistry and build an organization as to actually creating the mission. So we didn't come in knowing exactly the personal or intimate connection or mission that we were going to have. We just came in with knowing what the larger organization, International Doctors Without Borders, had. And when we all came together that first year, we were able to create a vision as to this is what we want our events to look like. This is how we want our social department to look like, or these are the effective ways of fundraising from our past experiences. These are not effective. And then soon we were able to even grow beyond that with incorporations of diversity, equity, and inclusivity, and we continue to grow. You know, it's an ongoing process. It's not perfect, but I think having very capable and intelligent people on our executive board of directors, and especially our teams, which are the heart of this organization, we're all able to essentially have a voice and pitch and work together without anybody essentially micromanaging.
All right, thank you for that, Simran. Now, kind of going off of that, this next question is directed to all the panelists. How has the executive board or exec operations changed since the first exec?
Yeah, so I guess I can kind of jump in since I was also on exec last year. I feel like for the most part, we still have an awesome team and awesome like designated roles, but this year, I know like one big aspect is we've added the LHS members, so that's underneath the secretary. And this year we've also shifted my role as vice president. I now am kind of overlooking the event secretaries, and Ishan's role as treasurer, he kind of overlooks the social secretaries. Another big aspect is we added a whole diversity and inclusion committee underneath the PCOs, which was an awesome advancement. But I mean, again, that totally kind of shifted the type of teams that everyone looks over and kind of the way of how we kind of delegate tasks. So that's the main ways that I've kind of seen it shift, but anyone else can jump in if I kind of missed anything.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in next. One program that I get to take a part in, as well as some of our interns, is the St. Mary's Joint Internship Program, where we have partnered with the St. Mary's Athens Hospital and have select members through an application process go and earn clinical hours from shadowing. And that in itself, it's always been a goal, as at least for the events department, to offer our members shadowing opportunities. So seeing this huge partnership come into fruition in only our second year of UGA MSF is just also a huge feat and success for change within the couple of years that we had.
I can kind of go next. Kind of continuing with Abigail's point, like I was on the executive board last year, so I got to see a lot of the changes that happened from our first and second year. And it's definitely, there has been a lot of changes, all of it obviously for the better. I think in my opinion, one of the biggest things is definitely like the interconnectedness aspect of our executive board. I think in your first year, especially when like it's our first year in the organization, we really did not have much of an idea of like how to run these departments. And we were solely focused on making sure like our department was doing as best as it could and like making sure we were able to fulfill the roles as best as possible. Now that we have like a little bit better of an idea of how to do it, we're able to like really interact more, really bounce off like ideas with each other. And like, you know, one thing like Abigail mentioned, for example, is Ishan. Ishan as treasurer has been an amazing asset for us within the department, just being able to bounce ideas off of him and being able to just interact with everyone else in the executive board. Like, even though I'm a part of the social department along with Anime, we're able to really have that network with all the other executive board officers. Something we weren't, like, it wasn't impossible your first year, but it was a lot easier in your second year.
Okay, thank you so much, Susie, Abigail, and Justin. So going off that, you guys all mentioned about UGA MSF in its second year and how it's changed. And as you all know, UGA MSF started out under COVID-19 and the pandemic and has had to adjust to that over the 2 years that it's been running. So I'll direct this to Webb, but everyone else can, tag along after. What struggles has UGA MSF faced as the COVID-19 situation shifts?
Yeah, so I think really first thing that comes to mind for me is really being in person and being able to interact with all of our members, and especially having events in person. I think that's something where we really were on kind of a hybrid system going into, for really the majority of last semester, and being able to sit down and look at members and, interact with everybody is a completely different, I think it just kind of changes the whole entire dynamic, and was really been great for us as things have gotten relatively better with the COVID pandemic, being able to have those meetings in person. And I'm a publicity and campaigns officer, so I feel like it's my job to kind of get out and meet the members and be able to interact with everybody. And doing it on Zoom, it's a great opportunity, and I'm so glad that we're able to do it. I don't know how else we would have been able to have all of our events and really run the organization without it. But that being said, it is great, and it's also different to be able to meet everybody in person and be able to go and do volunteer events and different things it just kind of really opened everything up for us and gave us a lot more opportunities to just give, like I said, just opportunities to our members and really just interact and be kind of a more close-knit organization.
Yeah, and I can speak a little bit about that because half the time all those announcements happen with a press release about when we're going online and when we're not and how we're resuming. I think being an organization that started at the very peak of COVID, I mean, we started in May 2020 when classes were completely online. Everybody was scared. Everybody would hand sanitize until their hands were dry and peeling off. It was a very, terrifying time, and we didn't have vaccines or any idea of when vaccines would come out. Being able to grow our organization to be large and prove to others that there are opportunities at the University of Georgia for pre-health students, it kind of gave us a better in-look to how we wanted to run the organization. And also it helped kind of to see, okay, these are the restrictions we've had this first year. The biggest one being we can't go in person. And so we started to value that a lot more when COVID cases went down this second year. Of course, our primary concern was always the health and safety of our members. And that's why we had so many press releases and so many protocols go down. But our important part was also to provide the evidence as to why we're making those decisions and to have that transparency. First year, we had that transparency. Everything is online. Second year was, when cases were incredibly high, where, even masking or having a low vaccination rate would get in the way. We went completely online, and we weren't hesitant to do so. And then when vaccination rates went, up and masks were also being able to make a difference at a larger scale, we were able to mandate some things, but keep those opportunities alive in person. So, it's kind of learning as you go, but it's also following the science and being able to make those opportunities available unless you absolutely cannot. And even when you cannot, you find ways to in a safe environment, in a safe way.
You mentioned earlier when you asked the question, you said what were the struggles of starting off during the peak of COVID-19. But in some ways, having UGA MSF start in this year was so critical, especially for members like me, where I just started off as a team member. Like when I found out about UGA MSF and joining the organization, it really seeing the current first year board officers work to create hybrid opportunities, online opportunities for members to still stay involved, still volunteer, still earn virtual shadowing hours, still being able to socialize. Like the social department was very important with their online social events to help communicate. Because like, let's face it, we all felt pretty lonely, like being behind a screen. So as a perspective of someone who wasn't on the exec board, I think in some ways, this is what made UGA MSF so special and so different.
Thank you, Susie, Webb, and Simran. I think Susie brought up a great point about having the different events and all online. So sort of shifting from that, we wanted to talk about the different departments. So what are the main goals of the social departments and how are these goals accomplished? And this one will be directed towards Justin.
Yeah, so I would say there's definitely like maybe two main aspects with the social department that we really tried to like focus on. One is obviously the fundraising that you guys always get to see, and then also the social events. I would say like, what do members gain from it? The thing I love about the social department is it kind of proves to us that, we're still humans. We're not just like one-dimensional, like pre-health students that, our only personality trait is like OChem and like studying and things like that. I really like that aspect of being able to like see each other on like a different like scale and being like a more casual environment and being like a more loose environment. We're able to like see each other in a different light and just like have fun, which is something I really just enjoy about the socials. And obviously with the fundraisers, the social department and all of the teams, they do such an amazing job holding these fundraisers. And it's why we're able to raise all this money and why we're able to create all these events is because these team members and all the UGA MSF members have been able to raise so much money for the organization. It's all goes like towards such amazing causes. So I would say those are probably like the two main goals with the social department.
Thank you for that, Justin. Yeah, for sure. I think the social department is definitely like very critical to kind of bringing everyone together. We have an audience question actually. The question is about, is there like a particular in-person event that happened this year that you are particularly proud of?
I can kind of go first. I think for me personally, it's the bingo event that we held. It was our first ever in-person fundraising event. We honestly, like us as a social department, our team members, we were very like, there was a little bit of worry, a little bit of stress on like how it was going to turn out. Because when you're doing something for the first time, obviously there's going to be like a little bit of stress with it. But I think just seeing the turnout and just seeing how involved everyone got and seeing like just the amount of people that came and just like how much everyone enjoyed it. It was definitely like a really awesome moment to see, like seeing all of your hard work like be accomplished like that and seeing everyone enjoy it. That will always kind of stick to me as like a special event for UGA MSF.
I can jump on it next if y'all don't mind. But honestly, there's quite a few that I could pick from. But I guess most recently, our relationship that we developed with the Athens Nurses Clinic, getting to go to their clinics. For one, we were also offered in-person shadowing hours and having members check out their clinic. We also held an education event with them where we were passing out flyers and reaching out to our local Athens Clinic community and telling them about the vaccine and what Athens Nurses Clinic does as a free clinic. And also just helping with the administration of vaccines. So some of our members had the experience of helping register and prepare individuals who are lining up to get it. And actually, if I remember correctly, they ended up administering all of their available vaccines on the day that we were able to help out. So that just makes me feel really proud to see different members of our organization, regardless of how involved they are, being able to have these opportunities to make an impact in the Athens Clinic community.
And I have something to kind of add on to that. Not only was that vaccine clinic an awesome opportunity, but another event actually last year that we got to do like mid-pandemic was administering flu and COVID vaccines with Mercy Health Clinic, which was also very awesome to take part in. I got to see a ton of the members helping and just being, I guess, on the front line. I mean, obviously we weren't administering them, but helping administer them on the front line during a pandemic is something that's really, really awesome to see and be a part of, because you feel like you're actually making a difference in something that's huge, affecting so many people globally. So I feel like that was also one of the events that was really substantial to me.
Okay, thank you, Susie, Abigail, and Justin for sharing your favorite social events. I'll have to agree with Justin. Bingo night was definitely my favorite for personal reasons. It was a fun time. And so going off of social events, the events department holds a lot of events that are just as crucial to UGA MSF and provide so much information for our general members. So this question will be directed to Susie. So what are the main goals of the events department and how are those goals accomplished?
Yeah, so for our department, I would say our main three goals is to provide shadowing opportunities for members, to educate not only the local UGA MSF community we have, but also to the extent of the Athens Clark community. And lastly, creating volunteer opportunities so that our members can help at a local and international scale. So in some of the ways that we did that, we have 3 teams, and as Simran has mentioned earlier, teams are the absolute heart of our operations. The speaker outreach team created several guest speaker opportunities where individuals could get virtual shadowing hours. The education teams like yourselves, you're hosting panels and discussions and offering CPR trainings and really helping, even passing out flyers. You guys are the ones who created the Athens Nurses Clinics flyers to be passed out to the local Athens community. And lastly, our volunteer events team. They reach out to different partnerships, different organizations to create ways for our members to get involved, to help out. And they've been creative. They've had many online ideas, they had many in-person ideas. All throughout, whether it was the second year or the first year, these teams operated to create opportunities in a safe and effective manner for this organization.
Right. Thank you, Susie. I think that's a great point about how the teams are really the heart of this club. And finally, just to finish this out, Webb, we just wanted to ask you about what is the main goal of the publicity and campaigns department, and how are these goals accomplished?
Yeah, so I really think the main goal of our department is to inform and publicize everybody really at UGA, and just kind of sees us on social media about what our organization is about and kind of what we do. And we do that 2 ways with our 2 teams. So we have our digital design team that does all the publicizing. They work with every department in this organization to kind of inform our members about the different events that we do, everything that we're up to date on as far as what we're doing, the things that we're offering for our members, really just kind of trying to show how we're, I guess, really all the opportunities that we're offering. And then the other way we do it is through our diversity and inclusion committee. And I think the purpose of the committee is to really, I guess, kind of in the name, is to bring people together and show them the different ways that we are diverse and that we are inclusive in our organization. I think you can kind of state that, but I think really showing that through social media and through the different events that they hold is a great way to kind of prove to members and to other people who are looking to join that we are a diverse and inclusive organization that also practices equity. And I think it's just kind of, that's like the main goals that we strive for in our 2 teams and as our department. And without them, obviously, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Thank you for that, Webb. Yeah, kind of going off of that, we have an audience question directed towards all the panelists. What have you guys learned about yourselves as leaders during your time on this executive board?
A lot over the last 2 years, definitely. And it's not just learning, about myself. I think it's learning about the people that you are leading, someone that looks over all 3 departments. It can be hard at the very least, managing classes and being the same age as the people that you're supposed to be leading. But I think it really, really matters as to how your constituents around you and your team members learn and lead the best. Making sure that everybody is growing while you are also growing, and making sure that you are providing the resources and the education to grow as well is incredibly important. I know that I've learned is, when we're communicating with each other, being our age, it can be hard. I mean, a lot of our texts are teenage age texts, and they're not CEO texts that you'll see from adults that are older than us. But when you take over positions like CEO, CFO, COO, and all the other executive board positions, you have to make sure that you're communicating effectively, that you're bringing the issues and the evaluations in a very straightforward way, while you're also boosting morale, and you're still making sure that everybody is confident in finishing strong, whether it be for the day or whether it be for the week or for the whole year. And so, keeping up with that morale and making sure your communication is enhancing growth is probably the most important thing I feel like all of us have taken, onto our shoulders, whether it's leading the executive board, the board of directors, or teams or departments.
Yeah, I can kind of piggyback off that too. I feel like, as Simran said, we've all learned a lot from this experience. And one in particular is how the people that you work with work best. So I know, like, I work really well at night. And last year when I had a we would try to balance that. And you really learn what works best when you spend a lot of time with that person. And not only do you learn about the people around you, but you also learn how to communicate and develop relationships with outside organizations and how that normally works. Like, you learn you have to plan ahead when you have to deal with other people's responses in order to plan events months in advance. So you learn a lot about organization and how to balance your tasks with, like Simran said, with your tests and with other people's tests. And you really learn when to know how to take up slack for someone else, and because you'll want that help when you need the extra time. You have a heavy test week, you learn just how to balance with a lot of people. So I feel like I've personally grown a ton in my leadership through learning through others and communicating with outside organizations as a whole.
I can kind of continue on with this. Going into my second year, this is the first year being a part of the exec where I've actually had to deal with teams. And I think the biggest difference with that is, when I was just a secretary last year, it was really just me and Simran kind of doing everything we needed to get done. Whenever I had a question, I could just ask her. If she had a question, she just asked me. It was a very back and forth, and it was a lot easier to deal with. But then when you're on a team, obviously you're dealing with many, many more people. So there is a bit, there was definitely a learning curve there, trying to balance your own workload, but also making sure they're able to accomplish their task. And it's just, the biggest thing is just making sure you're dependable and you're able to keep a level head, even when things are going wrong, or if there are things happening, you're able to be an answer for them, and you're able to listen to them, see anything that they may need help with, and being there for them every step of the way. I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned as part of MSF, specifically with this year, is just trying to be as dependable as possible to all of these other people that are depending on me for leadership.
Thank you so much for those amazing responses. I know personally, as a team member this semester, I've been able to grow so much and learn so much about my leadership skills, what does work with me and what doesn't work with me. So as officer positions, I'm sure you guys have learned a lot about yourselves within these past 2 years. So stepping off a little bit from UGA MSF and more onto the international side of UGA MSF, I'm going to go and direct this question to Simran first. So, and you guys can piggyback if you feel free. And this is a two-part question. So what has UGA MSF done to benefit the international community? And how do we balance the development and growth of our own members with helping the larger community?
Okay, so I think that question is kind of interrelated. Our members are the reason we're able to have an impact, outside in the international community. Without our members, we don't have impact in the international community. And, that's just the pure fact and truth of it. All these fundraisers that we do, because we're not able to go to these places in times of crises. A good example currently is the Ukraine war that we're fundraising for all this week, and then have a field day fundraiser on Friday, is that our money is used in the discretion of what is needed in these areas that are really struggling. So whether it be Ukraine, or whether it be Haiti, or whether it be India, whether it be South America, Africa, all these places that are in need for all sorts of different reasons, whether it be war, whether it be a natural disaster, whether it be even a full-on genocide in some of these communities overseas. So our members are the reason that we do have the impact. Every single cent, every single dollar helps us meet these goals, and 100% of them go to these areas, especially for crisis fundraisers. So, without such a large member body that is currently, donating and has always been donating, such a large body of donors that are always writing grants to us because they see the impact that we make, and they see the impact on the leadership and the education that our members get through these fundraisers and through these events. Even, our education team also puts on, which is all you guys, puts on so many panels and presentations because you're educating on the basis of these crises, or on the basis of these healthcare issues that are occurring today, whether it be in the local community or whether it be in the international community. So having that impact, whether it be short term, donating and having that center, or whether it be long term, being culturally aware, coming to DEI events or educational events to be the best possible and inclusive doctor or nurse or tech that you can possibly be, is our kind of impact right now to make sure that the next generation of these healthcare professionals are the best and are as inclusive and diverse as we can hopefully make them. So without members, we aren't able to do that, but gratefully we have such amazing members and team members that help us achieve these goals and ensure that the people after, the healthcare professionals that exist today are going to be better and ensure that kind of positivity throughout the world and not just in their local communities. Hayden, I think you're muted.
Right. Kind of going off of that, Suze, or going off of that, Simran, we wanted to ask a question towards Susie. What education events are like most impactful for our community and for the organization? And like, how do they impact the organization for the better?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for at least the education side of things, one event that y'all hosted that I felt that was incredibly vital was the Henrietta Lacks presentation. Because as Simran kind of mentioned earlier, what we're doing right now as officers, as team members, as position holders, is that we want to create a future where our current members create a healthcare field that is inclusive, diverse, and safe and open, where any patient can feel that they're receiving the treatment that they need. So a panel like Henrietta Lacks talking about the case, talking about the disparities that African American people are experiencing. Having moments like that, having events like that is so incredibly important to educate our members for creating this ideal healthcare system we have. And it's not just us, because we want to also have these opportunities coming from, I guess, professionals or people personally impacted on it. So for this particular event, we also had a collaboration with Girls in Healthcare, and their president was able to speak a little bit on her, personal experiences with prejudice and disparities in medicine. And she was able to comment on how she, as a person of color, would love to see how these things can change. So I find that these kinds of events are incredibly important, and I do wish to see this continue in the future.
Thank you for that, Susie. Yeah, for sure. I think events have been definitely very impactful. We have a couple of audience questions, but this question is actually directed to all the exec members. What has been your greatest challenge serving on the UGA MSF executive board, and how did you overcome it?
We can start off with Webb, starting being a leader of the first year department just this year.
Yeah, I think for me, I came in really not having but kind of being the only executive member did not have a prior leadership role besides leading a couple of social groups. But I think coming in, it was a big, everybody was talking about a learning curve. It was definitely something that I was just a member of the organization, and I just, participated in the events. I didn't really know kind of what went in to organizing everything and making everything run. So I think that was a huge learning curve. And then also just learning how to kind of, this goes into, being a leader, as y'all were saying earlier, it's just managing your schedule. And, we're all full-time college students. So I think being able to manage, being a leader in this organization and running two teams, help run two teams, is definitely was a huge learning curve for me. And it took a lot of adjusting. And I really feel like I've kind of got it down pat now, but it was something that was a little bit of a struggle at first. And, thankfully I had, my partner Eunice and Simran, and everybody else in the organization to kind of help me, move along and be able to effectively lead and be able to, run this department without falling behind because I was feeling overwhelmed or stressed or anything. So I think for me, that was the biggest learning curve. And then definitely just starting 2 new teams. But I mean, I didn't really know anything before that. So to me, it was just kind of jumping into a position that, it was brand new for me. So having the 2 new teams wasn't really anything new, but it was definitely, I think the whole entire experience was kind of like, just something that I had to get used to.
Thank you so much for that, Webb. So going off like challenges and like hardships you had to face within these years of your UGA MSF experience, how do you constantly look for ways to improve UGA MSF? This can be about yourself as a leader or just UGA MSF as a whole, however you would like to take it with your position that you're currently in. So we can have any panelists start off. Maybe Justin, if you want to start us off with this.
Yeah, I definitely can start off with this. I mean, speaking candidly, honestly, like the best way to how to look for ways to improve is when your events just don't go perfectly. I think everyone can say like within every department, none of our events go exactly like how we want it to go. There's always so many unintended problems that we like did not expect. There's so many other factors that just happen that we just like never planned for. So I think just like seeing those mistakes, being able to actually do these events, trying things that are new and seeing what went wrong, that's honestly the best way for us to improve. Like when we have when we had the in-person fundraiser, for example, when we started in-person social events, like having those actual events and seeing like the turnout, seeing how people were interacting with each other and how people were enjoying it, that's honestly the best way to like improve, because we were able to see, okay, how can we improve from this? How can we make this even better? So then next month when we have this event, it's able to hopefully eliminate some of those problems that we had from before and just make it, as good as it possibly can be.
Yeah, and to kind of go off that, I just have a short little snippet to add. I definitely think asking the members like what they want and like what we're doing not necessarily the best is also an awesome like way to get another perspective, because sometimes when you're inside, like you can't really look inside, but when you ask people outside of the executive board that are looking in, that helps to dynamically change things, because you might not be seeing what you're necessarily doing wrong until you get a bunch of perspectives. So I know for me, I try to like ask my friends that are in MSF or like members at certain events, like, what did you like about XYZ, or what are we missing here, so that we can really implement that feedback as well as we can and then grow from that as well.
Yeah, there's feedback. There's a feedback question on every attendance form for every event. And trust me, sometimes I spend 2 or 3 hours every night carefully analyzing, what people have to say about it or what people, think about the event that has gone on. And then you get a lot of DMs every single, day thinking, this week I have a lot of tests, so I can't come to this fundraiser event, or I can't participate in this because of, financial concerns or et cetera. You just have to make sure that you're constantly listening. From, like Abigail said, from outside, that you're constantly listening from inside, and that you're not leaving your, team who is depending on you to just guess what has gone wrong. You have to be very straightforward and tell them, this is what wasn't good. This is what is good. For the things that didn't go as well, let's sit down and let's see what we can do better. Was it the publicizing? Was it the planning? Was it the communication? Now that responsibility falls on some shoulders. For some, it doesn't fall on shoulders, but for the ones that it does fall on the shoulders, it's not always easy, talking to someone who's your own age, your own experience, going through the same things, to tell them, no, this is not how we run this organization in either legal terms or in either protocol terms or, publicity. This is not how it works. And that's why we have teams and departments to hold each other accountable. I mean, we have a team that's the digital design team. So everything that you see on our Instagram is designed or, kind of recorded by them, and they'll hold every department accountable for their publicity. They'll send emails out that will be very big on constructive criticism. If a department has done really well that week in publicizing their events, they will make sure that that department knows, and then they also know what they can continue to improve. And so, the same thing with the DEI is it's every team's responsibility to make sure that the organization is going well, whether they be in that certain department for the event that is being put on or whether they aren't. So I feel like that responsibility and making sure that everyone knows that they are part of that responsibility and it falls on their shoulder is one thing we definitely brought through at the beginning of each year that we've been active. And I think that's why everybody takes this organization seriously and legitimately and knows that we need to continue growing.
All right, Simran, thank you for bringing up DEIC. That's actually our next topic we'll be transferring to. So this one's directed towards web, and it's how does UGA MSF promote diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, so I think kind of going what off Simran was saying, I think the first thing that we start with is organization. So the DEIC goes through and trains all of the different team members in our organization to make sure that we're all on the same page of what we expect out of them as far as how they should treat other people and be inclusive in this organization. And then the second aspect goes into the digital part and working with the digital design team to promote diversity and inclusion in our local area and internationally or globally. So I think that's the main thing. And you see a lot of our different posts, we're always trying to highlight different things that are kind of going on in our society that need to be brought to light. And I think that's the most important thing is you can acknowledge these things, but really showing and proving to our members that we are aware of these situations and we are highlighting them and trying to offer resources for anybody that needs help. I think that is the biggest kind of thing that we focus on and the way that we really try to represent DEI in this organization on a regular basis.
I can kind of add on to that because it was an idea that kind of sprouted at the end of last year and kind of just implemented and given to Webb and Eunice and said, okay, you're now an officer, so you're running this committee plus another team. And DEIC is incredibly important. I mean, our committee gives training to every single team member. That training is mandatory. Everybody at the beginning of when they are elected to their position know what is right in terms of DEI and what is wrong in terms of DEI. So, we have a whole anti-harassment policy that was kind of created at the end of last year, middle of last year, kind of really implemented. It's made a huge difference. DEIC, before we didn't really have a way to keep officers accountable for people who found events not as easily accessible as some other people might, and making sure that they're able to bring this point of view and kind of serve as a judicial branch for the organization, making sure that they have a say, that they have the experience to train the rest of our team members and position holders. That's huge because now we have the ability to keep others accountable in a very neutral way and give power to the committee and not just say, I know our DEIC exists and it just exists and no progress is shown, which a lot of organizations struggle with that. They'll just have a DEIC because they're called out for it. But we have a DEIC who's actively making a difference and actively holding they hold me accountable every single day. And that's a good feeling to have because, it's progressive to the organization and that, you want to, at the end of the day, our members come first. And without a DEIC, it's very hard to really bring that truth to light when you're not being held accountable for it. And DEIC does exactly that in a very positive way.
Kind of piggybacking off of the praise the DEIC within UGA MSF, I'd love to talk about how they interact and how they help on the events department side of things. So for the education team, you guys already do a really great job in trying to offer different perspectives and educate our community on important aspects that promote diversity and inclusion. But most recently, for example, we started incorporating articles specifically relating to DEI in healthcare on our breaking news channel. You guys have been working closely with a member of the DEIC, Miriam, and you guys have been working hard on making sure that is being accessible to our members. For like our guest speaker events, we have a couple DEI questions that we'd love to always ask our speakers. You know, us as future healthcare professionals, we want to challenge the current board and ask them to, you know, answer these hard questions. For example, like, what do you do as a physician to make sure that your colleagues feel safe and that they're represented? You know, what do you do to make sure that your patients feel, you know, safe and included and represented? You know, it's important for us to ask these questions. And I love how the DEIC pushes all of the teams to make sure that we are making this a reality, at least for our future.
Thank you for that, Simran, Webb, and Susie. Kind of going off of that, we know that mental health has become a really prominent topic throughout the past couple of years, especially since the COVID pandemic. How has mental health been addressed this year by UGA MSF, and what could the next exec do better to address mental health among members, exec members, and also team members?
That's a big point in contention. You know, we've been talking about it since the organization has started. And we've had a lot of conversations with it because everyone's mental health is different. Everyone's needs are different. How they cope with their mental health is different. So you can't exactly put a one size fits all among all executive board. And you can't put a one size fit all, you know, in terms of how you educate members about mental health. But I feel like we're all able to bring our own coping mechanisms, our own ideas to the table, and be very approachable in that sense. I know one thing that we've kind of changed is we're very progressive. We give unlimited time off, you know, in our organization. So whatever it might be, you know, if we can't address how you cope with your mental health or what is most helpful to you, at least we want to give you the basic time that you might need for how you want to cope and what you're dealing with. So, you know, those implementations have made a huge difference in our position holders. And I've heard good feedback on those, you know, members DMing me from our teams. In terms of members, we had a panel about this, which was really, really helpful. And I'll let Susie talk about that a little more after I finish, hopefully. But, you know, we're trying, and it's an active implementation, figuring out how we can best give that time and those resources to ones who need them, making sure our press releases, if something huge happens that's affecting a minority community, giving them the specific resources they might need to cope with it and to kind of help with their mental health. It's those, I feel like those little things that can really make a huge difference. And we, again, all officers are always here to talk to you and to be here for you. We've heard, if you think you're struggling with something that we can't help you with, just try us. You know, you'd be surprised the things that we hear and the you know, conversations that we have. We're always here. We're always here to help, and we're always here to at least provide you the resources that we think can help you if we can't help you directly. So I think it's those little things, and we're always constantly learning as well.
Yeah, so as Simran alluded to a little bit earlier, just recently, y'all, the education team, we had a panel covering, you know, the healthcare disparities and the stigma surrounding mental health. And we had panelists from, you know, the director of CAPS here in Athens to therapists to graduate students who specialize in research surrounding how there are mental health care disparities in certain populations. Specifically, the panelists I'm referencing in people of color. The point is that we are very open in talking about mental health because it's a very real thing affecting pretty much anyone. Anyone can be affected. And we want to make sure that our members know that we're not going to shy away from important topics like this. That if a member ever needs to reach out to an officer, we're just a DM away, and we will have, we will sit down and have a coffee with you if that's something that like we need to do. We know the resources, we can direct you to several resources here just locally available. But the point is that we want to make sure that there is no stigma behind it, that we want to make sure that you guys feel welcome to be able to ask us these questions, which, by the way, was a really good question to ask in the first place.
I can continue on with this. Definitely kind of piggybacking off them. I think the biggest thing that I've learned, especially having other team members, is just being kind of a shoulder for the team members to like talk to you about these kind of things. They obviously are students as well. They go through their own issues and they have things they want to talk about. So beyond just talking about UGA MSF, like I've been able to grow such a great relationship with a lot of my team members, just talking about different things that are affecting them, or if they have advice, if they have a question they want to ask, just kind of being that shoulder to lean on and being more than just like kind of a leader to them, and just honestly just being a friend, listening to them, sitting down and trying to help them with whatever they need help with, again, like pointing them to any resources. And if they need that time off, if they need some time to like recuperate, or if they need that time to like have a break, giving that time to them without any hesitation at all, and ensuring them that we're there for them. And when they come back, we're there to help them out and to make sure they don't feel like any sort of like overwhelming feeling or just any sort of problems with their mental health, that we can definitely like fix them with as best as we can.
So I'm just going to hop in real quick, kind of going off what everybody was saying as far as offering resources. I know that every Monday we do Mental Health Mondays, and that's kind of a little story post that we create every Monday, the publicity department, along with our secretary, Emily. And we offer resources and advice for anybody that needs it. And then we also have had different posts that have highlighted this in the past as far as Mental Health Awareness Month. And these posts, like I said, offer resources and any advice for anybody that needs it. So like I said, like everybody was saying, don't hesitate to reach out to the officers, but we also try to promote these things on social media. If you need any specific resources as far as websites or anywhere really to go, these are a great place to go look for it. So just kind of always keep your eyes open. We're always trying to promote these things and offer our members as many resources as they can, because I know it's not always the easiest to talk about. But if you'd like to go check those things out, like I said, every Monday we do Mental Health Mondays, and we're always trying to promote these things on our social media.
Thank you guys so much for those amazing answers. And it really shows the amount of resources UGA MSF has for mental health in general. You guys did an excellent job at explaining those. So going off into more of a more broader question, how does the UGA MSF chapter specifically contribute to the mission of Doctors Without Borders as a whole? Is there anything our chapter does differently from the organization as a whole? So we can have maybe Simran start off with this question.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of obvious in the sense of, we're not in these places that International Doctors Without Borders is in, and doing all these things that they are, hands-on with the people who need it most. So I think that's like probably the biggest difference amongst us and International Doctors Without Borders. But we also have to notice that International Doctors Without Borders couldn't do what they do, again, without the money that we raise, and the resources that money is able to buy. And they're always very grateful for it. We're number one in fundraising globally as a student chapter for International Doctors Without Borders. So our money is going to all these places and being a huge help as to what they're doing, whether it's creating clinics, whether it's triaging, whether it's going into the battlefield and providing first aid, water, generators, oxygen tanks, whatever is needed, on the ground. That's what they do. For us, and our impact is, we're not in these places like Ukraine and Haiti doing this work, but we're here doing that work, and they're not here doing that work. That's our responsibility in our own community, and that's what we bring to light. And so, vaccine clinics, food drives, and volunteering in multiple like homeless shelters and different areas that need it is incredibly important for us. And last year we had health promotion teams that literally educated school kids about how important it is to socially distance, how important it is to get your vaccine. And of course, that was our responsibility. And so we take that incredibly seriously. You know, that's where a lot of the money that we get from donors also goes to. So that's essentially the biggest difference as to what we do is we take the mission of International Doctors Without Borders and their advice and their help and bring it locally to help our community. And we've made the biggest impact. I mean, that's the beauty of it is we are an organization that doesn't just focus on one topic, right? Like this is just the one thing that we focus on. And this is the only organization that we donate to. We see where the help is needed and that's where we go to. And that's how we serve our community. And I think that really is what makes us who we are and makes us kind of stand out and be approachable to those who really do need help.
And I can kind of piggyback a little bit off of that. I think we also do a really good job of actually spreading the mission of what UG or MSF internationally is. So really spreading the bigger picture of what they're doing at the moment, like vaccine equity and efforts in Ukraine, things like that. I think spreading their global mission, we also try to do, and not only their mission as an organization, but their mission of what they're doing at the moment. So I feel like just educating people on what MSF is also a good role that we have as a student chapter of MSF as a whole.
That reminds me also, if you don't mind me coming in, is all the impact that we also have isn't always as, I guess, publicized as we do for fundraisers. Now, we knew with how the school year works, when there was a huge issue with COVID-19 in India, we went into our own piggy bank, our rainy day, and we made sure that they have the money, you know, to grow. We sit for 2 hours, 3 hours weekly with free clinics in our community. We talk to executives of hospitals in our community. So that isn't always, you know, portrayed to members, but that is our ultimate, you know, connection to our members and to our community in growing those opportunities, but also understanding that our organization is past just creating opportunities. It also includes the people that our campus affects, because we often forget about them going to UGA, and that is our point, is to bring them in the limelight because they matter. We're in their hometown, where, you know, donating to a university that's constantly gentrifying these areas that people have been settled in for years and growing their families. So you know, that is, I think, what makes us approachable and helps us keep those healthcare professionals and those healthcare entities in our community accountable. Being free and being students, we have the power to say, hey, you're not actually doing the right amount of outreach. You should be. Let's sit down and let's talk about how we can provide the members to you so that you can help us create these connections and give back to our communities and hold these clinics that we have been, and reaching out to these, you know, healthcare, well, free clinics, but food drives and homeless shelters and different just community-based opportunities.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, that we are more than just UGA students. We are members of the Athens community. And so just like as a final question, what advice do you have for UGA students that want to join MSF, or for current members who want to be more involved and potentially join a team or run for exec board next year? And we can start with Webb, I guess, and then we want to get everybody's opinion for this. So.
Yeah, so I guess general advice, I mean, I think you can just kind of, for me being in the publicity department, you can go to our social media and see how much we offer for somebody who might be hesitating to join. We offer so many different things for our members, and that's really a part of all the leadership positions that we hold here. It really allows us to give people all these different positions and go into our community and really have an impact, in my opinion, with how large our organization is, over 1,000 members. It's really incredible what we've built here. And then for anybody that's hesitating for that reason, I think being on these teams in these leadership positions is just an amazing opportunity to kind of feel more like a close-knit community. And that's something that, for me, coming into being on the exec board, I was just a regular member. And I really thought that going and doing things like social groups was an amazing opportunity for me to actually interact with individual members in an organization that's so big. And then coming in and being on a team gives you the opportunity to work individually with a small group of people and really have an impact on the community and the organization. And that you can really kind of feel that with all the members. I mean, you go to the events and it's just kind of my favorite thing is just seeing everybody have such a good time and learn so many different things from everything that we kind of have going on, whether that be a presentation or a social activity or a panel or a fundraiser, anything like that. Or if you're going and shadowing, I think you can really see the impact that it has on people and how much it means to them. And you can go and we take pictures of these events. I think you can see people really enjoying themselves and having a good time. So it's definitely something that I would recommend to everybody. And as far as having a leadership position, I think it's a great way to grow as a person. And someone like me that's going into my 5th year, I really feel like I can say that because I felt like you always have room to grow, but I definitely thought that I was like, oh, I don't really need to, build all these different skills. I've already have them. And that was not true at all. I feel like I've grown so much as a person, as a leader. And I feel like putting yourself in that position is the only way really to figure that out. So definitely recommend that to anybody.
I can go next if y'all don't mind. I would say for any person who's watching, who is either, regardless of whether you're in MSF, whether you're interested in joining MSF, you can make it. Your experience in MSF is up to you. However much involvement you want, that's up to you. If you want to come to a couple events, just get the basic requirements, amazing. If you want to only do a little bit, that's fine. If you want to join a team, maybe become an officer, all of that is possible. For me personally, when I first joined, I applied for teams in the fall. I didn't get selected. That's fine. I still went to my events. I still participated here and there. And then I found out for the spring selection, I got in. So I'm just kind of an example of, I guess, man, I got rejected on round 1, but here I am coming in for round 2, and I'm an event secretary. But the point is that if this is something that you can see your future in, take all the shots, the cheesy, like, you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It's true. So if this is something you want to see yourself doing, like, please, by all means, like, we would love to see you apply.
I can continue on. I think Susie kind of emphasized it perfectly. Just, the hardest part for everyone is just getting there, right? But once you get there, you're really just going to be a part of such an amazing network of students that, love to enjoy themselves, but also love like learning. They love, being able to interact with each other and make a positive impact on the community. So if you're hesitant, if you're like, oh man, like I'd rather be studying, like, no, I promise you, go to these events, meet with these members, and just enjoy it. Like I've had members like regret not going to these events, but I've never had a member say I regret going to all of these events, if that makes sense. Like all of these events pose such an amazing opportunity for you to really grow as a person, really just enjoy yourself. So if you're looking into getting involved, I'd highly recommend it. Shameless plug, if you're looking for involvement, there's an event on Friday that you can attend, our field day fundraiser, which is a great way to get involved and to meet other people before the next school year ends. So I'd highly recommend you attend that. And also just for people that are looking to get involved in like a team or exec board, I think, talking about from my personal experience, like I didn't have like any, like I was not in any like healthcare organization before I joined UGA Doctors Without Borders, but I, saw the email on the listserv and I thought, why not? Why not just like go ahead and try? And Simran loves to use this saying a lot, and then Susie kind of emphasized a little bit, just shoot your shot. Honestly, like what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is you don't get it, but what happens if you do get it? So just, try your hardest, really just, submit that application, even if it takes like, 15, 20 minutes of your time and you got to type some stuff up, like just shoot your shot. You never know what can happen. I truly can say like, I was extremely on the fence of applying for the executive board, but I was like, you know what? It's quarantine. Like, why not? Like, what else am I doing besides like watching Netflix? So I shot my shot and it ended up being truly like one of the best decisions I've ever made, like in my undergrad. I've met so many amazing people within the organization. I've grown so much as a person and as a leader. And I can't even imagine what would happen if I wasn't here today, if I didn't just sit down and like send the application for the exec board. So just shoot your shot, even if you don't think you're qualified at all, even if you think like, oh, I'm a little hesitant, like, am I really like ready for it? Just try it, get involved, go to these events, and just, you never know what can happen if you shoot your shot.
Yeah, and kind of going off shooting your shot, even if you don't get it, you'll learn something through the process. Like you could get an interview out of it, and now you've got an interview practice for your future med school interview. So I feel like that's a big perk of shooting your shot, like Justin was saying. And I feel like you also learn good like essay skills as well for that application, and really learn how to interact with others in the healthcare field, things like that. And I feel like it's a great way to just get involved in general. And also, if you're on the fence of getting involved as a member, I definitely suggest if you don't see something that you want, as I was saying earlier, reach out to us with your feedback, because we want that feedback. And I'm sure if you want it and you don't see something here, then a bunch of other people are also thinking that. So if you don't see something, then we encourage you to help us start it, is the least to say about that. So definitely reach out to us. We're all open to it, and definitely don't like not take a risk because you think it won't be worth it, because I think you have nothing to lose, like Justin was saying. But yeah.
Well, now that Justin's taken my saying and Susie has served a year on executive board, I can say it's time to retire. I don't think there is anything else to say. Yeah. But no, seriously. I mean, tell me what other organization is worth joining then, that won't cost $150. That won't give you, that will give you over 15 events every single month, and will give you over 50 plus positions of leadership. That's what you need when you want to go to medical school. That's what you need when you want to serve your community. That's what you need to grow at the age that you are in. And that's what this organization was founded upon. That's something that every single officer, every single team member enhances every single day in their duties. So, if you are on the fence, really think about it and look at all of the opportunities that UGA Doctors Without Borders provides. Like Susie said, it's up to you how much you put into UGA Doctors Without Borders. That's the amount that you're going to get out of the organization. So the more that you put in, the more you will get out. And that's the way that we framed it. At the end of the year, you get a certificate, and that'll show how much you've put in. No other organization does that. Our whole point is members come first, not positions, not money, not bureaucracy. First thing that comes is you guys. And I think that's something that we also pay full attention to in every single thing that we do, is what would be best for our members. Is this event best? Is this donation best? Is this connection with this hospital or clinic the safest for our members? Or is it not? To give that utmost care for things like DEI and all of those questions is something that only we do. And you'll see that probably the first orientation that you'll sit in, and you'll realize half the time what we hear is, damn, this is really organized, or you guys know what you're doing. Thank you for not wasting our time and keeping GBMs to 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Because we know, because we're you. We aren't different. We're not above you. We're doing this alongside you. Half the time, we don't know the answers, but we're figuring it out. And that motivation of figuring it out is you. That's why we don't just sit around and say one event, same event every single month. No, we try to mix it up, because that's exactly what you need. And we know you need it because we know we need it. And that's the utmost care that we put into UGA Doctors Without Borders. So if you were on the fence, just know you'll be joining and being a part of an organization that everyone is continuously on the fence, but trying to do their very, very best and putting you in a position of where your voice matters and what you think and want to do matters a lot.
Thank you guys so much for those amazing responses. If you guys aren't shooting your shot, then you aren't really, you're not trying in your college career. So thank you so much for all those amazing responses and advice for our UGA MSF members and our non-members that are watching. So like to go ahead and close the panel. I'm going to go ahead and lead it to Elizabeth to do our final closing.
Yeah, I would just want to say thank you to all of the incredible officers who took the time out of their very busy schedules and out of their nights to be a part of this panel. And I want to thank our incredible questioners who did such a good job. So I'm going to go ahead and put up our quiz QR code, and it should also be sent in the chat. So just go ahead and answer the quiz, fill out this form, and then you're good to go. Thank you so much for attending tonight. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and end the stream. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to all of our incredible officers speak, and we hope to see you guys at the fundraiser on Friday. Thank you so much.